Hello everyone. So today we are going to continue on the vase. We are going to go ahead and finish up the background, and we may get around to adding some of the decorative elements of the vase to that. Um, this is still a little bit tacky from a few days ago, so I'm not going to do a whole lot on the vase, but I do want to get the background in. We'll be putting in some a shadow here, a tablecloth, that kind of thing, just to kind of get it on the surface. A lot of times I will actually do a slightly different background than what I actually see, which is totally fine. So I'll be kind of tweaking it a little bit and playing around with it to get it looking good. All right. Alright, so I picked some raw sienna and some Naples yellow, and I'm just going to kind of play around with this. I'm not sure if this is going to be the final color. I'm still kind of debating on what will look good, but I kind of want something that will contrast with the blue of the base. So, because the base is so has so much cool color in it, we want to make sure that a lot of the background has warm color, so that we have this contrast going on. A lot of times you'll hear artists say that you want at least, you'll want a blue color, you want a yellow color, you want a red color somewhere in the picture. So, just to kind of give it some interest. So I've kind of got this warm yellow I'm putting on right now, just to see how that works. And again, you can work on making kind of a gradient. So if the light's coming in from this way, you may want the tabletop lighter over here, darker over here. So feel free to give it a gradient, give it some interest. I'll be blending this in a little bit better later on. This is just to get some color on, but to give it a true gradient with a smooth transition, I will be blending it a bit more. Alright, and again with the edges of the vase, if you need to, feel free to turn the picture. You can always get a smaller brush if you prefer. That's totally fine. Use the brushes that work for you. I've got a huge collection of brushes, and each brush has its own purpose. So yeah, don't be stingy on your brushes. Get brushes that will do the job that you want them to. I could easily go in with a smaller brush and do this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it like this. And as you can see, sometimes I go over, in which case I take a dry brush and just go back and just kind of do a little bit of erasing. So, okay. Feel free to turn your picture any way that's going to work for you to get to the areas that you need to get to. So. picture is totally fine. You want kind of you want to make sure your tabletop horizon matches. So even though I haven't made a line going, through the vase or anything, you do want to make sure that it does line up on both sides, so that it doesn't look wonky to the viewer. Another thing you'll notice a lot with pictures is that they'll put like the table edge here, so it's just like a darker, it would just be a darker stripe going up and down. So I'm just going to do a quick one. It's just to give the sense that there's an edge to the table. So took my raw sienna and put a little bit of burnt umber in it, just to darken it up, and then just putting down just a tabletop edge. You don't have to do this, but it is pretty common, especially in classical pictures, to have some sort of edge. Okay. And you can mess with this forever, but just kind of getting it as straight as possible is fine. So. Okay. All right. And since I have this dark color on here, let me just tweak this a little bit more. You'll notice things as you go along. You'll notice, oh, I need to fix that, or I need to tweak that, and you can always go in later on and make changes if you want to. There's, it's the nice thing about paint is you can always kind of paint over it, so that's totally fine. Since I have the dark color on my brush, I'm always thinking about what colors I've got either on my palette or my brush or whatever. So because I've got the dark color on my brush, I'm just going to go ahead and stick in the drop shadow, and I'm looking at what I see in terms of the vase. I've got some windows over here, so the light's coming in and hitting the vase as it sits on my shelf here. So I'm just gonna kind of lay in just not a really dark color, but a color that's just gives it the sense of shadow. And this actually goes up the wall a little bit, so I may later on, I'm just going to kind of indicate right now where I see it, but there's like this shadow against the wall, which you don't have to put in, but it does give a sense of where the vase is in space. So if you want to put that in, that's cool. It just gives a sense that there's a flat surface and there's a wall behind it. So yeah, so that's just kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and make some decisions about the background wall. I may or may not do a wallpaper pattern on it later on. Right now I just want to get a surface on it, but I may end up doing kind of like a brocade wallpaper or something on it, just to give it some interest. But that comes later. I'm worried about getting the large areas covered in paint first. So, all right. And I'm going to go ahead and make decisions on the color of that. So yeah, so right now it's just kind of making some quick decisions. I might actually go with like a light blue with that, just to give it a contrast from the table. And I've got some nice blue colors that might work for that. But all of this is part of the game. It's you know, making decisions, making choices. You know, you make a choice and then decide that it really doesn't work for you, which is totally fine. Or you might come up with a really great idea, and that's totally fine too. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go ahead and test out a color and see what I think. So, just gonna. Okay. So this is Radiant Blue, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll want to get a desaturated color in the background, but in order to get that, so like if I wanted kind of like a warm gray or cool gray, what I'll actually do is I'll mix two intense colors together to get that background intensity, and that's totally fine. Feel free to mix colors as you like. I quite like this Radiant Blue because it is a very intense blue. But it oftentimes does the trick for what I need. And let's see. Another color that I like to use a lot is unbleached titanium, which is kind of like a warm buff color. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with those two colors and see what they do. So putting that on, it's kind of a nice puff blue, powder puff blue color going on there. So that'll work. Mix a little bit more of this. And what I'm probably going to do is I'll keep it lighter on this side and then transition to some darker colors over on the other side. So again, I lay in the color that I want, and then I will create any gradients or whatever that I decide the picture needs. I'll probably be adding some more lights on the table in a future session. This is just to get the colors down, but I will be tweaking the colors even more in a future session as we develop the picture even more. So I take a long time doing my pictures. That's just the nature of the way that I paint, but you know, allowing extra time to think about what you're putting on and how you're going to make it look is always a good thing. Sometimes you need that little extra time to you know, give it some thought. Okay, I'm gonna turn this so I can get to this side. And as you can see, I'm still using a big brush. I've switched brushes from when I did the table, but I'm still using a big brush to get in and color the areas. So. The reason I didn't do the background last time was this Prussian blue, the blue that I used on the vase is really intense, and just by kind of like touching the edge of the vase with your brush, it's really easy to pick up and spread to other areas, so I didn't want to do that. So I kind of think of you know, stopping for the day on a certain painting is kind of hitting the save button. So you know, if I feel like it's looking pretty good and I don't want to mess it up, I don't want to, you know, accidentally move paint around or whatever, I will just stop for the day. I'll move on to a different picture and stop for the day on whatever picture I'm working on. I have so many pictures going on at the same time. I've got you know, probably like 10 pictures that I've worked on this week, but that gives me a chance to have something to work on even when I need to pause on a picture. So so yeah, this is just to get, I'm just going to do as much as I can on this, and then we will pause and move on to a different day. Okay, so I've done this side of the picture with the radiant blue and the unbleached titanium, and at this point I'm going to move to just a slightly darker color. So I'm going to go with Portland Cool Gray, which is just a touch darker, a touch less saturated than the radiant blue. And I'm going to go with let's see here. There's this warm gray here. So again, this is just a notch down from the unbleached titanium, and it'll give me just a slightly darker background in the other area here. So if we look at my palette here, these two colors are the radiant blue and the unbleached titanium. This is the warm gray and the Portland Cool Gray. So you can see it's just a step down. So I'm just gonna mix those two together. So, and you don't have to mix I mean, if there's a little bit of where you can still see that they're not quite mixed, that's okay. It'll give your picture interest. So, so having just having it not quite mixed is not necessarily a bad thing. Kind of mixing it on the canvas here, on the panel, but yeah, it's not bad. I know that I will be putting the shadow of the vase in a little bit, but right now this is just the wall color here. And sometimes I'll go just along the table edge just to kind of get it blended. Now I've got this transition from where it goes from the light area to the dark area. I'm just going to kind of blend that in a little bit just to make sure that we can tell that there's that transition going on here. Okay, so I've got that mostly done. Sometimes what I'll also do is I'll put a little bit of the dark color down here where the table meets the edge of the wall, just so that there's that sense of, you know, it's not quite as light as way up here. All right, so we've got that laid in. Now we're going to use our fan brush to blend it in. Works. Okay, so when using a fan brush, and these are really useful for blending, you don't want to jump from one area to the other. You want to kind of do it smoothly. So I'm going to do the lighter area and then transition over here to this area over here. Because it will pick up color and you will see, you know, the color transfer. You want to make X motions when you're doing this. So when I go in, it's just very lightly, like a feather. You know, it's just kind of just very lightly blending. And this is just to get the paint smoothly blended. So, and I'll take it over here. And there's always the chance that you'll kind of accidentally hit your main subject and put some paint on there. So, you know, just, you know, if you see that, just erase it. You can use your finger, you can use a brush, whatever. Okay. So I'm just getting this blended in here. This is also a good time if you think you have any cat hairs or fuzz or dust or anything in your picture. It's a good time to pick it out. So, you know, for picking it out, look really closely. You know, just kind of give it a good scan. You may want to look at it in a kind of like a raking light to see everything. There's always a chance that you might not notice things now, but you'll notice things 2 layers down the road. So, you know, get as much as you can now. kind of a perfectionist in my painting, so you know, I may be doing more than you might choose to do, which is totally fine. You know, you might choose to keep your brush strokes or whatever. That's totally fine. It's totally your own picture. This is just my style of painting, so yeah, feel free to adjust this according to what you how you like to paint. Okay, so I've got this basically done. The background's basically done with that. I'm going to do a little blending on the surface. Now I've got this radiant blue combo on my brush already, which is definitely not the same color that's on here, but I know that I'm going to be lightening this up anyways later on, so and I don't feel like switching brushes, so I'm just going to go ahead and just use the same brush on this. So and again, if you need to turn it, you know, feel free. Okay. And again, I know that I'm going to need to correct the edge of the vase there, but that can happen at a later point. All right, so I think this may be all I'm going to do on this one today. Just getting it. Getting this later, just kind of. Finalized a little bit. It's okay. Sometimes I'll actually put a blur on, just to have a blur going on, and then I can detail it later. So I hope this was informative for you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will talk to you next time.